So thanks for Randy for keeping things going here. And actually, I think we've gone around the room. Has anybody
Yeah.
not gotten a chance to introduce themselves to Ginny and Orly? Great to see you back again. Still getting a lot of traffic to your podcast and your mastermind from a couple of weeks
A lot of
ago.
new people here today,
Yeah, yeah.
too.
So,
That's
well,
interesting,
people, new people to the group, new
right?
people, so it's awesome. And Ruth, how did you said you were referred to us by who? Ruth,
Hi, Don.
by Dawn Tilger? Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
awesome. Yeah, she'll probably join us, but I think we've got what I would call a quorum here, and we'll have some other folks. We've got folks that are still in their zombie mode, uh, engage around noon because that's the way we used to do it, but we've changed it about 6 months ago, and then people still old habits die hard. So, um, but anyway, this is the Friday version of our network, and every Friday we get together. It's also a show on the Be Connected platform, and we get together. We have mastermind leads. I will warn you that I have my three granddaughters here, so if you hear noises or screams in the background, I'm not killing anybody. It's just that it could be fun. I mean, Ginny had to warn me of her coughing yesterday, so you can share whatever you want on that, Ginny. I won't. I won't.
His grandchildren are adorable. I heard one of them asking him questions, and it was just
Yeah,
so
now
cool.
they're telling me it's going to be a whole hour, so this is kind of, it's kind of interesting. So I told them I need to
They could sit
focus.
on your lap.
Yeah, well, I'm at a stand desk, by the way,
I
so
know,
she could be right here at my feet, or one of them,
and we wouldn't see
and
her.
you'll just hear the voice. You hear a little voice.
That's cute.
So anyway, but anyway, this is our Friday edition, and Randy, if you would, Jenny is an amazing resource, and I would strongly encourage you to hear her Warrior versus Zombie podcast from yesterday. It's shared on the private Facebook group. She did an awesome job, which is no surprise. And she's going to be leading our mastermind today. So with that, Randy, why don't you go ahead and introduce Ginny, and we'll get started.
Sure. Well, welcome to this Friday's Connect to Thrive Mastermind with our guest speaker, Gini Trask. And her talk is entitled The Win-Win-Win of Managing Expectations. I like the extra win in there, and we'll find out why in a few minutes, I'm sure. Participants in this empowering mastermind explore core needs, solving problems, solving problems forward, and the superpowers that can transform any issue into an opportunity to create a win-win-win. Gini Trask is an entrepreneur that travels the world as a speaker and consultant, helping companies and individuals to go beyond compromise to creating solutions that truly make everyone feel that they have won. She was born and raised in Houston, Texas, graduated with a BA in theater, or theater if you want, from the University of Northern Colorado, and owned a multi-million-dollar bus charter business. Now her company, Top Tier Travel, has since become a multi-million-dollar success, creating one-of-a-kind incentives and experiences for tens of thousands of travelers in the corporate and network marketing space. Great bio. Please join us in welcoming our guest today, Gini Trask.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Randy. And thanks, David, for being here. And I just really appreciate that you're, helping all these entrepreneurs to win. I'm all about the win, obviously. You guys heard that earlier. So yeah, we're going to talk about the win-win-win of basically managing expectations and selling solutions. But yeah, before we get into that, I just really want to acknowledge David for creating the space for all of you guys to win as entrepreneurs, and for you guys for showing up today, right? To create more wins in your business. So you guys are amazing. And by the way, if you liked my bio, that came courtesy of Orly and Moore. So Orly wrote that amazing bio that you guys just heard read out loud. So I love it. So yeah, so I guess if you guys want to, I'll tell you a little bit about why I'm so passionate about what I do, if that's okay with you guys. I started my first business at the age of 16. So some of the folks that were on here heard a little bit of my background already. But the first business that I really started to create wins in was the charter bus business that I owned with my mom. I started that business in the early 2000s, and we did $1.5 million in revenue in the first 6 months. And man, we had a great time. You know, it was one of the most fun business experiences that I ever had. And we created a customer base during that time that to this day does business with us. That was in 2004. And so almost 20 years later, every single one of those customers is still a customer of either mine or my mom's. We since split up that business because I did the unthinkable. I went to work for someone else. I'm from a family of entrepreneurs. And in about 2006, I did the unthinkable and I went to work for someone else. Like, that was a giant tragedy in my family, because why would I go to work for someone else? It was important for me to know that I could do things, under my own steam, that I wasn't just successful because I was, attached to my family, right? Of course, your family thinks you're great and you're brilliant, but I wanted to go out and really, figure things out on my own and under my own steam. So I went to work for a sports travel company called On Point Sports, and really changed their program, not meaning to, didn't know I was going to do anything special there. But when I first, started with them, they didn't really have customer retention. Sports travel can be the type of thing. And when I say sports travel, we're not taking volleyball teams to their tournaments. These are packages for corporations and individuals to attend sporting events like the Super Bowl, the Final Four, the Masters, the Kentucky Derby, things like that. So it's very high ticket, very high dollar, and very high stress or high pressure. Randy and I talked earlier about it's not really stress, right? If you look at it as being fun and you look at it as money. So I went to work for them, and in that business, it can be very much like a shot in the dark, right? Like, a customer comes to you one time to buy a Super Bowl package. They may never buy another Super Bowl package ever again. They might, and if Super Bowl was their thing, if they're only an NFL fan, they may not buy anything else. But the more that I worked with them, the more that we kind of really did begin to create this tribe of customers that cared about us, and we started to get repeat business, which is not something they had had before. I was offered the CEO position of that company, and then decided it wasn't a fit for me because actually they wouldn't let me treat the customers the way I wanted to treat the customers. I was told that I was too friendly, I was too personal. I was doing it all wrong. I was getting way too friendly with the customers, and that was a big no-no, and I was being unprofessional, and I would need to change all that. And I said, you know what? I don't want to change all that. I want to go off and do my own thing. So I started Top Tier Travel in 2010 and started to do things my way. And I built up Top Tier Travel. Didn't hit that first million for 5 years in the second business. It took me a little longer to get to my first million in that business, but Top Tier Travel has been a thriving business ever since. And we do have a 100% client retention rate. And the thing that I am passionate about is actually teaching other business owners how to do that for themselves, teaching you guys how to really create that lifelong raving fan, because that's the thing that we all need. We all just need raving fans, right? Have anybody ever heard Tim Ferriss talk about that like you just need raving fans? Yeah. So if you would like raving fans, you can put raving fans in the chat, because I think it's super important to have raving fans. The thing is about a raving fan, and I think one of you guys kind of touched on this earlier, it's about you out. So it's not just that they're going to continue to do business with you, right? So loyal customers on average spend between 25 and 95% more money. If they view themselves as a loyal customer, they spend between 25 and 95% more money with your company. That's huge, guys. That's doubling your revenue within your own customer base, right? And people who feel that to your brand, they're also going to give you, on average, they're going to refer you out to at least 2 to 3 other people. Here's the great part about that. Those referrals are actually going to spend on average 35% more out the gate with you than somebody who's a brand new customer. So that's a pretty good deal, right? And there's no cost of customer acquisition in those cases where it's a referral, right? Unless you're paying out a referral fee, which is I totally recommend doing, right? But when someone's a raving fan, like I'm a raving fan of Orlia Moore's program. She has a fantastic speaking program that I've taken. right? She does. She has her people contact me. If people need a reference, they contact me and I tell them what a great job Orly does, right? So they're much more likely to buy. So I just think it's important as you guys build your businesses that, it's not always about further customer acquisition, right? It's about how do you keep customers that you already have. It's much cheaper to do that. It's much easier to do that. But the way that I do it is it's probably going to seem really unconventional to you guys and a little bit different. So I hope that that's okay. I hope you guys are up for some non-convention. If you guys like to live life on the wild side, you can put a 1 in the chat for that you like to live life on the wild side. I like to live life on the wild side. So yay, thank you, David. Thanks for playing along. I appreciate it. Are you guys okay so far? Everybody just give me like a thumbs up in the screen if we're tracking and we're all good. Okay, awesome, thanks, appreciate it. So I'm gonna tell you that my method for retaining clients is actually, yes, it's a good dose of being, caring about them. First of all, you should always care about your clients, right? If you want them to care about you, you want them to spend money with you, you should actually care. It is important. But I actually believe that the problems are actually the gateway to creating great customer relationships. Every single customer that I have has remained my customer, not because everything was always perfect. They remained my customer because when it wasn't perfect, I stepped up and I made it even better. So here's the thing, when things are not perfect, you open up the opportunity to actually really perform for that customer and let them see you in action and you're really letting them see how much you care. How many of you guys have ever had something go wrong with a customer? Just raise your hand if you've ever had anything go wrong with a customer, right? It happens, right? Sometimes it happens. It's what we do in those moments that really makes the biggest difference. I'm here to tell you, sports travel is not easy. Things go wrong, okay? We had the Super Bowl, right, in Dallas one year. Well, the Super Bowl actually sold tickets in the stadium that had not been installed. They had added seats to the stadium and they sold tickets in those seats, but the seats were never installed in the stadium. So we had not a lot of customers. We had a couple customers that got assigned those seats. So they get to the stadium to scan their ticket and they're like, nope, that ticket doesn't exist. Oh my God, it's Super Bowl Sunday, right? These tickets cost, these are good tickets. So these tickets cost like $15,000 a piece, right? So we were given an opportunity then to make it right. And it didn't really matter that it wasn't our fault, right? What mattered was how we handled it with the customers, right? So of course we got them tickets. We got them slightly better tickets, right? And then we also got them a meet and greet with an athlete the next day to make up for that issue. I got this guy, he's my friend on Facebook, and one of the best, he's this amazing raving fan of mine, even though he doesn't buy sports travel from me anymore. He is literally like every single thing I post, he's like, Ginny's the best, Ginny's the greatest, and he shares everything. This poor guy, we were doing the Super Bowl in Tampa, and he gets to and this is more money than he's ever spent on anything ever, right? This is I think just the tickets alone were probably $15,000 a piece, right? So he spent almost $50,000 on this package. And he gets to the hotel, and it's not our fault. The hotel doesn't have any king bedded rooms. They just don't have any. And it's him and his wife, and the guy is really, really tall. So it's hard for him to sleep in a double bed, which is what they gave him. They gave him 2 double beds, right? And so he's like, what am I gonna, and he is just beside himself upset. And I could have just been like, look, dude, it's not my fault, right? It's not my fault, and by the way, I've got other fish to fry. There's a whole, gaggle of things that are happening in the background, right? While this guy's complaining about his bed, right? And I'm like, really? You can't, you have to have a king size bed? But guys, it was important to him, really important to him. And he was so upset that I literally, he could not let it go, and it was ruining his entire trip. So in the end, I actually wound up making it happen. I wound up getting him, getting him a king bedded room. To this day, this guy is my raving fan. He tells me, he will tell anybody and everybody about what I did for him. But it wasn't perfect, right? He had a problem first. Those other clients, they had a problem first. But it was the fact that I stepped up and I fixed the problem that actually enabled them to become my raving fan. If I had just given them what they had paid for, right? And that was it, it's okay. That's all right. And of course, I always want to exceed expectations. How many of us have ever heard we should exceed expectations, right? Set the bar here and then, deliver up here, right? You should always exceed expectations. But when you solve a problem, a couple different things happen that create a connection. First of all, most of you have probably learned the LEARN method of dealing with problems, which is that you should listen, you should empathize, you should apologize, and then, you should respond and negotiate and a resolution, right? But, and actually I do it this way. You should listen, you should empathize, you should apologize, you should repeat back to them so that you know that you really heard them, right? And you should negotiate a solution. But the thing is that when they have a problem is when they actually get to feel heard by you, right? When they have the problem is when they actually get to connect with you as a human and they get heard. They get seen and heard, which is something that they might not have experienced otherwise. So it's how you respond in that situation that actually creates that deep connection. And yes, always under promise and over deliver. So let's talk, and I'm glad that you put that in there, Patricia, because I want to talk about that a little bit. First of all, anybody have any questions so far on anything that I've covered?
By the way, our normal protocol here is just that if you have a question when Ginny asks like this, go ahead and unmute and I will call on you. One of the things that this may be where you're going, Ginny, with this, is that understanding and managing expectations going in. I think that the one thing that you just said that's extremely brilliant is the R, labeling that to repeat back, because as you started to say, and I think people would recognize that the biggest failure when challenges occur is that if I'm on I have a problem side of the equation. If the person offers a solution that isn't exactly what you were hoping for, your first assumption is that they didn't listen to what you said. They didn't care what you said, or whatever. You assign something that's usually pretty not good to the interaction, right? So repeating it back, I always say, okay, to be clear, or let me tell you what I heard. And then that way they can either say, yeah, that's kind of it, or no, it's not. And then before I even launch into, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And I think that's the point you were making, right? And yes. I think that's totally brilliant. So anyway, sorry, I didn't want to take it away. Anybody else have any question for Ginny before she keeps moving? This is great. And I'm going to mute because I've got screaming in the background.
Awesome. So absolutely. So the repeating back is one of the most important components of it. You don't want to leave out any of those components, but the repeating back is very important. And what I always do is I'm like, okay, is it okay with you if I just repeat it back to you? I just want to be sure that I really understand what's going on. Guys, that is the most disarming thing you can do to somebody who's really upset, right? Is just say, okay, I really want to be sure that I get this right. Is it okay with you if I repeat that back to you? Right? I just want to be sure that I truly understand. And then when I've repeated it back, I ask them, does that sound right? Did I leave anything out? The did I leave anything out is also really important. It gives them the chance to say, maybe there was something there that was really important that I left out, right? So really important the repeating back to me is just such a much more important, step of this. But let's go back to before you get to that point, because we talked about expectations management. So how many of you guys know that on occasion people have a problem with what you sell them? They bought something and they have a problem. And if you don't want to raise your hands, okay, but this happens. It's okay. It happens to all of us, right? People buy something and there's a problem. Now, that problem could be multiple things. People don't read. I sent them instructions and they didn't read the instructions. Okay. I gave them, they thought that they keep thinking that they're buying this one thing that they think is included and it's not included. So I'll give you an example. My company, Top Tier Travel, was the largest North American supplier of travel for a network marketing company. And one of the problems that we realized was that people they didn't read. And so they were basically sold these trips and it was like, this is the best trip in the whole entire world. And so what we found was, like, if I sold them a Super Bowl trip, they assumed that because they bought it from this company who sells the best trips ever, and it's a VIP experience, that they were getting like 50-yard line seats for the Super Bowl. But in reality, that's not what they were getting. We had put the price point at a place where more people could access the package, right? So because we had to choose, we could do the VIP package. I can sell you 50-yard line seats. The point was that we wanted more people to be able to buy packages, so we had started them at a lower price. Well, their customers didn't read, and they would just buy the package and assume that it was the top level package available in the world. Well, so the very first time that happened and people showed up and they were upset that they didn't have 50-yard line seats, I was like, they're not reading. Okay, no problem. So I would then offer on every single package an upgrade option. When you offer people an upgrade option, they read, they pay attention. They go, oh, there's another option. Hold on. Well, what am I actually getting? Right? So we even moved this over to just leisure trips. We found that when we took these same groups to the beach, like if we took them to Playa del Carmen, for example, they would assume that because it was a beach destination, that their room was automatically beach view, like ocean view. That's what they assumed. Well, the problem is that in Playa del Carmen especially, a lot of the resorts are not, the beach is kind of small and the resorts are set back off the beach. Most Playa del Carmen resorts don't have very much ocean view. So what did we do? We made an ocean view option. So now they could pay for ocean view or they could pay for not ocean view, and they could see the vast price difference between the two, right? The other thing that would happen, or even some of them don't even have ocean view. Some of these resorts don't even have ocean view. So what we would do is we would still give them a choice between garden view or pool view. That let them know, hey, there's no ocean view option. Make sense? So a lot of people what our natural instinct when we know that there's something that people might not like is to hide it. Our first instinct is to hide that thing, right? So like bury that really like crappy clause that you got in your contract, like bury that deep in the fine print, right? So that people don't read it. My method is completely backwards. My method is to tell you what you're not gonna like right up front. I want you to know whatever it is that you're not going to like right up front. So if, for example, I'm selling high-end Super Bowl packages and I want people to, sometimes these multimillionaires don't realize that they're buying a package. So when it says transportation to the game, they might assume private transportation. Well, that's going to be a problem because the CEO of Hormel does not ride on a bus with other people. That does not happen. So I would give them an option. Private transportation as an extra charge, right? So I encourage you guys to look at, where in your business can you actually bring forward the thing that is going to be the problem. Let's get it on the table right away. Let's get it out and in the open right away. I noticed Randy came off mute. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I would just say we call that full disclosure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean,
yeah,
to me, there's no alternative but that.
That's right. And if you're a coach, for example, right? Full disclosure, like if you're coaching people, you can say, look, full disclosure, I'm just going to tell you some of the things that people didn't like about the package, or I'm going to tell you about some of the ways that, when we see that people don't succeed. right? So here's what happens when you don't succeed, right? It's because you weren't willing to do this part of the program that's kind of hard, or people struggle with it, or you didn't do this part that people struggle with. 100%. And if you're speaking from stage, you can go ahead and tell them that right off the bat, right? The biggest problem that I have with my clients is that I like to do improv with them and their teams, where we improv through ways to solve problems. And sometimes they don't really get that as deeply into the problems as they need to, right? Or sometimes the solutions that they come up with are kind of patting people on the head solutions. So we also don't want to give people pat on the head solutions, right? Like David said, we want to really hear what the problem really is. And it's scary as a business owner. It's scary to look at what is the thing that people don't like about me, about my business, right? Where's the failure point? Where's the place that people don't succeed? It's difficult to look at that, but when you can manage people's expectations around it, people will be happier. People love full disclosure. They love it. They want it. Because they know in the back of their minds that there's something that's going to sneak up on them. That's natural. We teach a thing called the 20-word intro. And basically we teach you how to do this 20-word intro for your business. And in it, we say that it's important. Like if you sell insurance products, don't hide that you sell insurance products. Tell people that you sell insurance products. If you're selling people weight loss and it's an MLM, tell people that it's an MLM. They're going to find out. It's going to happen, right? But if you tell them up front, full disclosure, like Randy said, it's a lot better situation for them, because they feel that transparency and that honesty coming from you. So the first bridge that you're creating with the customer is to be in that place of full disclosure, to let them know, hey, I know that there are some things that don't always work, and here's what they are, right? I know that it's a problem that this resort doesn't have ocean view. So I'm going to tell you right now, this resort doesn't have ocean view, but there's a lot of great things about it, right? So the first piece is actually to manage expectations on the forefront. So I encourage you guys to write down, what are the top 5 or 6 things that are a challenge for people? When people do complain, what do they complain about? Right?
Ginny, one of the questions that I I have around that, just again, probably more for clarity. I think I understand what you're going to say, but when you talk about the things that they're not going to like up front, there is you hit on a couple things about how to do that in a way, because it's still a great deal, right? I mean, whatever product or service, and to say it's not this is actually not as effective, in my opinion. I think you can be upfront, but you can also be, you can say what it is, just like your example of the rooms, right? There's no ocean view, but the options, the choices you give them indicates that there are great, other views or other things like that. So you're giving them that. And then, you can also add to it. What do you think? What's your response or thought on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I look for is, how do we, first of all, look at what are the problems, right? What are the potential problems? Like, come up with your top 5, or your, top, whatever the top 5 are. Then what we want to do is we want to craft around how to deliver that news to people, right? So how do we deliver this to them in a way that works? And the delivery also matters to when you're actually solving, when it has become a problem, right? And now they're like standing in front of you complaining, or in my case, yelling. Usually in the travel business, they're standing in the lobby of the hotel screaming at me is normally the way that I receive the news that somebody is not happy. So you want to, so it is though about crafting the message in a way that works. So if one thing is, if you have the situation where people often think something's included that isn't, go ahead and offer the option to buy that thing, right? Go ahead and offer the option to include that thing. If, if the problem is that people don't, that maybe you get returns for size. Like you guys see this now online, right? If you're getting, like, if you're doing clothing or something like that, where you get returns on size, you really need to dig into that, right? You really need to figure out, like, how do we convey to these people, the proper sizing and things like that. If it is that you're a coach, then what you want to do is, or you're offering services like that, what you want to do is you want to say, here's the benefits, right? Here are the things that work well. Just so you know, this isn't for everyone, right? There's a couple things that we do see people struggle with is this, and this. We have a few options for dealing with that. So like, in Orly's program, for example, some people don't want to do the work. She teaches you a process, and some people don't want to do the process, right? So what's great for Orly is to go, some people don't want to do the process. If you don't want to do the process, I can refer you to somebody who can do the process for you. The biggest failure point that we see with people is just that we go through the class, I teach them how to do the process, and then they're not gonna, they just don't want to do the work that's involved. So, I have an option where we can have somebody do the work for you, right? So her solving that, because you also know what problems what's the new problem? When you solve a problem for a client, you sometimes also create a problem for them. So who can you refer them to that solves that problem that you've just created? Make sense? All right, I saw you spotlighted Orly. Does Orly want to?
Well, I because you mentioned her and because she's so brilliant, I do think it's important really for us to have some real examples here. I know this isn't a quiet group, but the people here, we're all trying to process and think about, okay, in what we do, how could we apply this? And that's the purpose for the mastermind, right? We're trying to say, okay, how do we put this advice to work, not just hear it and say, oh yeah, it makes sense. So Orly, you want to expand a little bit on hers, because I know you're great at this.
Well, thank you so much. But first, I want to tell you that Gini's work with the travel, where she uses it also for the speaking experiences, she really goes above and beyond and really focuses on the experience of people traveling. So it's really above and beyond. I've never seen anything like it, but she makes sure that you're having a great time. And I experienced that in New Orleans, like places that you wouldn't even know existed. It's really cool. And on expanding on what she was saying, it's not true though, that people don't like to follow a process. I mean, you pay for something to do, it's taught to you in the best, fastest, easiest way to do it, and you still don't go do it. And that is, I think, across the board, people just we're in a micro society. We wanted it yesterday. And unfortunately, there's things and steps that we cannot skip, right? I mean, if you're going to tie your shoes, you can't just tie the first knot. You gotta still make the bow so that the shoe does not fall off your foot. So my process is literally 40 minutes to 1 hour a day. And I tell people you could do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night, or on the toilet. How simple is that? And to Gini's point, it's Gini, right? Gini.
Yes, you got it.
I did it again. Okay.
You did it. I know.
So to
it's because she speaks 7 languages, guys.
Yeah, that's the problem. So if someone is not willing to do your process or to follow your lead, then you got to create another solution to their problem, not your way of doing things. It might suit you and some of your followers. And because I'm a profiler by trade, as a behavior analyst, there are those 4 personalities, although they're individual and combined. The problem with that is that by their personality type, they will not or will follow or find all the excuses in the world why it won't work. So we got to feed those personalities in order to have people follow a process.
And I love that, Orly. And you're actually bringing up the next piece of my talk, which is great, which is, thank you for that. We did not practice this, by the way. So let's say that you've got your five problems, right? Some of those problems can be solved ahead of time by managing expectations in a phone call that you have with the customer, in the text on your web page, right? There's multiple ways that you can address those, and I work with people to figure out what is the best way to address them, right? Sometimes it's not good to address them you know, like I've had website copy that I've had people be like, okay, you're being a little too much on the expectations management and the website copy. It's making people not want to buy, right? So be careful of that. So once you kind of have those problems, now we want to talk about those 4 types of clients. So I use the same method that James Dentley uses, which is that there's 4 types of people. You have sharks, you have dolphins, you have whales, and you have urchins, okay? So the sharks are people that are slick, they're fast talkers, they like shiny suits, right? And what's important to them is like status is important to them, right? Shiny, things being, you know, getting glory, you know, being on stages, things being, you know, having the nicest things, you know, looking nice, looking sharp, those things are important to them. So in my world, those are the people that it's important to them to have a room upgrade because they want to show off their room upgrade, right? That's what's important to those people. So we have the sharks. You also have so then you have the dolphins. The dolphins are fun people, right? So they might have wanted a room upgrade. So these are people, they're all about the fun. If you do the color wheel thing instead, like the red, blue, green, yellow, these are the blues, right? These are the people that they're all about the fun. They don't read. They don't read anything. They're not going to read your webpage. They're not going to read the instructions. They jumped into whatever you're doing because they like you and it seemed like fun, or their friends were doing it. And so now they're going to do it because their friends were doing it, right? Those are your dolphins. Dolphins, if they bought a room upgrade from me, they bought a room upgrade because they wanted to have like a party and have people over, and they know some of their friends can't really afford a nicer room. So they kind of got the nice room because like they want to have a party. They basically bought the room upgrade because they want to have a party. Okay, so then we have the urchins. The urchins are the analytical types. These are the people that are, you know, they read the whole website. If any of you guys need a Q&A person to review your website, I have a wonderful woman named Kat she is an urchin and she will read through your website for all the urchins of the world and make sure that absolutely everything on your website is perfect. These are the people that will email you and be like, hey, you have a typo on your website. And you're just like, really? Because I'm not that person, right? So they're very analytical. They read everything. They are the ones that showed up at the hotel and everything is printed in a folder, right? Like they've got all their confirmations printed and this is what we said. And we said the welcome party was going to start at 7 and it's 7:05. Why is everyone not here, right? Those are the urchins. The urchins bought their room upgrade because they worked really hard all year and they saved their money and they bought this vacation package and they had a little bit of money left over. And so they want an ocean view. And on the website, it said it was an ocean view. So if there's a palm tree in front of their ocean view, they're going to complain because that is not okay. I bought ocean view and there's a palm tree in front of my ocean view. Okay. So those are the urchins. The whales are the people who own, you know, they give to charity. They have these huge hearts. They just want everyone to be happy, you know, and they might have gotten, you know, a room upgrade because they wanted everyone to, you know, be able to come over and have breakfast together. And they wanted they brought their grandkids or they brought their friends' kids because their friends can't afford it. Or they might've bought a room upgrade for somebody else because they are these big-hearted people. So when you're solving problems for each of these people, it's helpful to realize who you're talking to, okay? And some of the ways that you can tell who you're talking to is in the way that they present the problem back to you, right? An urchin is going to bring to you that this is what I paid for, right? This is what it said on the website. This is what I paid for. They like lined it all out and you've delivered this and this, but you didn't deliver this. And so where's this piece, right? So when you're appealing to the urchin, you're going to have to really appeal to that technical kind of analytical type of person, right? And they're not really going to necessarily be wooed by, so when you're crafting the solution for that person, you're going to want to craft a solution that speaks into, you know, that analytical side, right? Now, if it is just and so typically with those people, what the best thing that you can do is to actually say, you know what, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. definitely repeat it back to them and say, could you give me like, a few minutes to kind of look this over and figure out, how we can solve this? They're going to be fine with letting you step away, because they inherently typically understand that, like, okay, it makes sense that they didn't realize that this piece wasn't delivered, and we're going to need to step away to deliver it. All with those people though. So one of the things that I always do when I'm working with problems with people is I always give them a time frame, like how long it's going to take me to come back to them with something, right? It helps to, again, manage their expectation. But with the urchins, you better be right. If you told them an hour, in an hour, you better have a solution, right? So you make sure you give yourself plenty of time. If you are dealing with a dolphin, right? You might have in your back pocket something else fun that would be a perfectly good substitute, right? And again, you're going to want to repeat it back to them, but it's going to be something like, okay, so I'm really, I'm really sorry about the ocean view thing, man. The hotel's totally full, and I wish there was something I could do about this. What if I got you guys into the club tonight? And you could bring all your friends, right? Because really they were there to have a party, right? So a lot of times they'll take an alternate solution, right? And there's going to be times when your back's going to be against the wall and you're not going to have a solution necessarily that fits exactly what the person wants, right? With the sharks, they're often going to want the answer like right now, soon, right? Because they feel important, and they're important, and their time is important, right? But again, if you can't get them but again, they bought it for status, right? So if you can give them an upgrade that's a higher upgrade, right? They might even be willing to pay for it, because now they're getting something even better, right? They just didn't know, especially if you can, put what you are in the chat, guys. I would love to know if you guys are dolphins or urchins or sharks or whales or what you are. So again, it's dolphin, urchin, shark, or whale. I would love to see what you guys are.
Yeah, and some of you, if you don't put it in, I'm going to label you for her. Because I know most of you.
I love it. That's great. Randy's a dolphin. Oh, that's awesome, Randy. See, people always think corporate guys aren't dolphins, but you're a dolphin. That's perfect. Oh, Preston wants a label. Oh, now the challenge is on, David. You got to label people.
Okay, so I'm going to set Preston. We literally just met. My sense is Preston is probably an urchin or an urchin whale. I think that's, and again, I'm a dolphin. I said in the chat, I'm a dolphin, but I would say that I'm probably a big dolphin. I mean, I like the whale part too. Those who know me know that I'm always
a dolphin.
So I'm a huge dolphin. Yeah, big parties, big impact. So that's it. Don Sprague is a Sigma. What are you? Okay, and David Gurno. Yeah,
Patricia, you're an urchin too. Awesome. I love it. Okay, so let's see. I think, you know what, and from hearing you speak earlier, Preston, I would think that you're an urchin as well. That was my initial thought, but I don't know you very well, so that would be my thought. Well, we've got a lot of urchins in here. Okay, cool. Good to know. So when you're coming up with these solutions, it's great to come up with sort of how you're going to word this for each person. So I think, the magic, and this is why I love to do improv and things like that with companies. I love to come in and help you guys come up with, like, what are the four ways that we can answer, these top 5 problems, right? And then how do we practice actually talking to these people? Because how you speak to them matters, right? How you speak to them matters. James Dentley, who taught me about these 4 personality types, talks about speaking into their listening, right? With an urchin, you can't be too flippant about their problem. They want you to be grounded. They want to know that you heard them. And it's important that you don't just flip off that this is like it needs to seem like it's a big deal to you, because it's a big deal to them, right? It's a glitch in the plan, right? They have a plan and this is a glitch in the plan and they paid you money and they want you to solve the glitch, right? So what's helpful is if you can come up with responses, like if you guys have employees, anybody who here has employees, can you put a 1 in the chat if you do have employees and put a 2 in the chat if you are a solopreneur? Sort of an urchin, Don. Okay. Okay. So Preston's a solopreneur. Okay. So we got a lot of solopreneurs. Awesome. So when you're crafting these responses, you actually want to try to practice speaking into the listening of each of these types. So urchins are going to want you to be settled when you respond to them. They're going to want your energy to be settled. They're going to want you to repeat back to them what they said. And they're going to want to know that you're searching for solution, but it is okay for you to step back and figure out how you're going to respond to them. With whales, oh, sorry, go ahead, David.
So one of the things is being a dolphin or in other 4-quadrant analyses, I'm what's called an expressive. I'm actually an expressive driver. The challenge I have dealing with urchins, and which is not a negative, pejorative. It's just who people are. Is how I respond requires a lot less energy and a lot slower response. If I go too fast, even though I kind of already know what I'm going to do, and whatever, that can be construed as not giving them. I think you said it earlier, is can I get back with you? Well, urchins have actually done a lot of analysis before they made their decision anyway. Therefore, knowing that you heard them and that you're responding at a pace that aligns with what they would expect is important. And if you go too fast, it doesn't seem like that.
Correct. Yeah. They don't want a canned response. They don't want it to feel like that you're ahead of them, because that feels like you didn't listen to them. And it can be really offensive. It can be really offensive to the urchins if you come up with the answer kind of too quickly. It can be kind of offensive to them. Because they really do. They want you to think about it. It was probably hard for them to bring this to you. They really deliberated whether or not to say to you that this was a problem. And now they're saying it, and they kind of want you to give it the respect it deserves. And for those of us that are dolphins or are sharks, we're just like, oh, cool, I got you, girl. Don't you worry. That is not like, they don't like that answer. Right? They don't want it to feel that you haven't given it the respect that it needs. So yeah, thanks, David, for bringing that up. Totally true. How are my urchins feeling? Do you guys feel like that this is on point for you guys? Awesome. So one
of the things that I've seen too is to add to that is that the urchins probably already have a response in mind. Mm-hmm. They're just looking for you to confirm or corroborate or agree with their response.
Yep. And I love that. So one of the things that I do, guys, is that I am not at all afraid to slow down the speed at which I respond to a problem, right? Because almost no one doesn't respond well to that. The sharks don't love it. They kind of sometimes want to pressure you to come up with a response. But they're kind of the only ones. Everybody else the dolphins will go have a drink at the bar and like, okay, cool. Yeah. All right. Come back to me later. Right. So always, feel comfortable to slow down the response. It's important that you respond to, so if it's an email though, you do need to respond immediately, right? That you've received it and that you're working on it. I am always a big fan of if somebody has a problem getting on the phone with them or getting on Zoom with them. Always a big fan of that. I believe that personal touch really matters. Sometimes things seem like a huge deal over email that aren't, because it's very cold. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Don. Thanks for bringing that up. They do know what they want. Here's the thing. Most people do know what they want, especially urchins, though they've come up with a they've come up with a solution, with something that makes sense to them. The first thing with me with an urchin is that if I can just turn around and give them exactly what they did want, if that is possible, then I want to do that. But I still want to give it some time. I want to give it some space and come back to them. And make sure that I can deliver what they're wanting, right? They also definitely want to feel heard. But you're right. Most of them know what they want. So when you're dealing with an urchin, when you come back with a solution, also be prepared to say, but what would be a win? I'd love to hear what would be a win for you, right? I'd love to hear, I'm sure you've thought of some, I'm sure you've thought of some solutions. What would be some things that would work for you, or that you would be. Now, most urchins, their original thing is going to be that I want what I paid for, right? I just want what I paid for. I'm not asking you for anything extra. I just want what I paid for, right? But it's, it is a good thing to ask. I always believe in asking the customer what would be a win for them. Sometimes I will come up with some solutions first and then ask them, or if you feel comfortable with the customer, asking them right away what would be a win, you can. But I'm a big fan of, finding out that there's a problem and then stepping away for a second. Usually it calms them down. They know that you're working on it. And then usually it gives you some time to kind of come up with what would be the solution based on who they are, because it matters. So with a shark, I've got to think, okay, it's also about how I present it to them. Okay. So in my old, when I worked for the other sports travel company, we would sort of mismatch tickets a lot, right? So I would get, and a lot of those guys are sharks because they're CEOs of big companies, and I would get tickets that they weren't exactly the tickets they were necessarily hoping for. Now, when I did my own company, I would recognize that. And it's one of the reasons I left that company is I knew that about people. And so I was sure that if I had a shark, that I was over delivering on that ticket piece, because I knew that it was important to them to say I was on the 50-yard line, right? So if they're a shark, it's got to be shiny, it's got to be slick. You can also usually communicate with them in a little bit more direct way, right? You can just kind of be like, yeah, man, I'm so super sorry that happened. Let me go see if I can pull some strings. So they love phrases like, let me see if I can pull some strings. Let me see, let me see I can talk to, because it makes them feel, it plays into the importance, right? How can I, it's that kind of slick, I'm going to pull some strings for you. I'm going to, now I will say this, in my case, if you already know that the answer to something is like, you really can't do it, you're going to want to start to manage that right up front. So in my case, if somebody paid for an ocean view room and they didn't get an ocean view room, I would automatically tell them, oh my gosh, I am so sorry. The hotel is completely sold out, but let me see what I can do. But I'm going to go ahead and sneak in there, right? Gosh, I'm so sorry this happened. I don't know how this happened. Let me see what I can do. I know that the hotel's sold out, but let me come back to you. Right? With a shark, they will often take a substitute as long as it's of higher value. They will often take something as long as it's of higher value, or it's some in their mind, or something that is has more import to it. With dolphins, they were here to have fun. They're usually the most flexible about how you solve the problem. They're like, yeah, I bought this thing, but I'll take something else. Is it going to be fun? Are we going to have fun doing it? Like, it's fine, right? Orly, what are you? I want to know what you are.
I think I'm a shark and a dolphin. So like, I think that I'm in between those two. I like to have fun, and I like the shiny upgrade of everything,
Yep.
I work hard and play hard. So I think that's where I'm at.
I'm so glad you said that. Sharks are work hard, play hard, right? They are. And so they do feel that they've worked hard for whatever they did. They're high achievers, right? And so, yeah. So when you're talking with a shark, you can be more direct, right? Yeah. You can be more direct. You can say, and you can't, but they love it that you're going to pull some strings for them, or that you're going to, we don't really normally do this, but let me talk to somebody and see, they like that you're doing something special for them. Again, dolphins, fun. Usually they'll take a substitute. it's really more for them. And the more that that you can feel, that they can feel like, that you're trying your best. Whales and dolphins, if you're trying, they appreciate that you're trying, right? Whales, really for them, they don't want to let down other people. So you want to see is what you're providing to them somehow related to others, because sometimes that's the case with a whale. So when you're coming up with those solutions, sometimes for them, they're upset because it impacts someone else, not them. So how do you solve for that, right? With the whales, they, putting your hands over your heart is good, right? That they feel that you're listening. So sometimes for men, that's not super comfortable, but for women, putting your hand over your heart. For men, being a little bit less direct and a little bit more, a little softer in your delivery for whales. But whales often why they're upset is that it's the impact on someone else, not them. So always think that through with them of, if you're going to solve the problem, how can you solve it for, whoever else is impacted, or at least address that that's an issue, and feel free to ask those questions, and the better that you get, the more that you do it, the more that you've solved these problems. The other thing is, you guys probably know how you solve these problems. How many is anybody, if you guys don't mind putting in the chat, I'd love to know how long everybody's been in their business, or the business that they're thinking about today. Are you just starting out? Is your first year, your first 5 years, 10 years? How long have you guys been in business? I would love if you put it in the chat. Starting out. Okay, awesome. Since 2002, Dawn's been in a long time, 20 years, Patricia, that's awesome. So you guys probably know how you solve these problems, right? If you guys, a lot of you guys have been in business a long time. So a lot of you guys know how you solve these problems. You probably know what the solution is, right? So when you know how to solve the problem, what's actually interesting is still to go through just at least a small period of waiting before you respond, of really taking into account who this person is and how do I deliver them the answer in a way that makes them feel seen and heard and cared about, right? That's really the magic, is if you can really deliver them the information in a way that matters to them. Randy?
If you respond too quickly, it makes them feel like you screwed them in the big time and they caught you.
That's right. That's exactly how it feels. So I wrote you that there was a problem and you came back to me with an answer like that. So you know this problem. So you're just screwing people? That's how they feel. You already knew this was a problem, and you already had a solution and you didn't solve it beforehand. Wow, that makes me feel crappy. That makes me feel like you were trying to screw me, right? That's exactly how it feels. And so coming back too quickly and especially coming back with like a canned answer. That's why I love to hop on the phone with people or hop on a call with people. Now I will say this, I am very quick to refund people. When people come to me and they want a refund, for me, typically, I don't try to keep the fish in the boat. If I can refund somebody, I will refund them, typically pretty quickly. I just don't, if I got to struggle to keep this fish in the boat, I'm going to be struggling to keep the fish in the boat the whole time. You know what I mean? What you want is fish that just jump in your boat, right? And they love you and they love who you are and they understand that you're not perfect. Every once in a while, you're going to get a client they're just a difficult client, and they're just a person that is, can't, anybody ever heard the phrase you just can't please some people, right? You just can't please some people. I like for those people to get out of my boat as quickly as possible. If you were in my boat and you can't be pleased, cool. I just move on. It's fine. I also do very much believe in making it right. The small amount of money that it usually costs you to make it right may mean the difference in that client staying with you forever. I cannot tell you how many times, the bus charter business is not perfect. It is difficult. You have things happen. You have bus drivers show up late. There's so much that's out of your control, right? Most of my clients have had some kind of problem on their bus charter. Most of my sports travel clients at some point have had something not go perfectly with their package, right? But I made it right. And so the biggest thing is, guys, always make it right for your clients. And the other thing is that I really do think as you move on and you get employees, for those of you that have employees, empowering your employees to do this and empowering your employees to solve customers' problems is the best thing that you can do for your company. You know, do role plays with them, have them come in, like have them get comfortable, like solving these problems. With my employees, I give them, depending on how long they've been with me and what their role is, they have a budget and they have a percentage. Everybody knows that in my company that you can solve, if you can solve the problem on your own, I want you to solve the problem on your own. But knowing these principles, right? Everyone in my company knows these principles. They all know what my principles are. They know that my principles are to, if somebody wants a refund, let's do everything in our power to give it to them. If I'm saying like full cancellation, complete refund, my goal is always to give it to you. It really is, because I'm not going to even try to fight. If you've gotten to that point that you want all of your money back, I really want to give it to you. I do. But, you know, we go through these principles, right? Everyone knows the types, everyone knows the solutions that we typically use, right? And they all know the process that we don't want to answer right away, that we really want to listen, we really want to pay attention, right? And so if you guys can empower your employees to do that, I recommend it. My employees have a 10%, they can make a mistake up to 10% of the time, right? If they make over 10% mistakes, okay, now we got to look at that. And then if we look at, you know, money monetarily, they all have a budget that they can use to solve a problem, right? Guys, it's a game changer in your business. All right, David, did you have something you wanted to say?
Well, we're getting we're 12:44, and what I would like to do, if it's okay with you, you covered a lot of stuff, and I also want to make sure if you have an offer or something that we should consider, or a way that we can follow through with you, I want to make sure we get that out here as well. But I also would like to give folks an opportunity, because I think you've given us a lot of things to apply to our business. You've hit on really powerful things about getting that 100% retention type of claim that you're able to have because of the approach you take. I would like to invite anybody else to kind of step up to the stage and ask Gini a question, or if you're struggling or thinking about how you would apply to your business the things she's talking about. I would open that up. I've got a couple clients that if you don't ask a question, I'm going to ask for them, but asking for a friend kind of thing. So, but I'd like for you guys to do it. If you don't jump up, I may voluntold you, so you may pop up on the screen. So anybody want to volunteer to react to what Gini has asked or has said? Don Sprague, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I do real estate, but I also work for JCPenney part-time selling on commission mattresses and draperies and stuff. And one of the things I run in, and I think your comments are spot on. A lot of us at least in the retail world, we have boundaries that we have to live within. And I think the customers that I deal with that have problems, as long as you explain the boundaries and can solve those, and it's sort of your full disclosure comment, you can typically resolve their issues within the limits that you're presented by the company, and that typically will retain them. I mean, it's amazing how many comebacks or be-backs that you get because of that. And that's just my comment there. In the real estate world, it's sort of tough because most of my business is referral. So you have to be spot on, and I do a lot of lease contract stuff too. So you have to know what you're doing, and secondly, if you don't deliver, you got a major problem legally in my case, because the state or the real estate commission will step in and solve the problem for you, and you don't want that. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because you're right. You know, it is about, it's that, again, really by letting them know your boundaries, you're letting them know that there is a limit to what you can do. And people, again, that's expectations management. Yeah. People love that. If there are boundaries that are confining what you can do, go ahead and let them know. Gosh, this one, I'd love to solve it this way, but I I can't do that because of this, right? So let me think about what could work. Or maybe you can tell me what could work. You know, and if you're dealing with problems you've never dealt with before, I think it's also fine to be like, wow, I have actually never dealt with this before. What do you think would work, right? And toss it back to them. What do you think would work? I've never dealt with this before. I'd love to hear how you'd like to solve it here. You know, there's a couple things I can't do, so I'll tell you what I can't do, and then yeah, how would you like to solve it?
Randy, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you may have already covered this, and I've just overlooked it. But if you respond too quickly, it comes across like you were screwing them all along, and you already knew that. So I think, you know, if you inadvertently miss something, then I think you start that with an apology. But I think, you know, full disclosure and honesty is always the best policy, right from the get-go.
Always. Absolutely. Absolutely. I saw, it looked like Preston had come off of mute as well.
Yeah, Preston, go ahead. Preston, you went off. Well, he went off camera and mic. So.
Anybody else?
Judy, go ahead.
You mentioned that you had learned about the shark and whale, etc., from someone else. Who was that, and did they have a book about it?
I learned about it from James Dentley. I don't know if he learned about it from someone else or if he created it. James Dentley is who I learned about it from.
And what is his work?
Now he has a TV network. He used to do speaker training. So I think it's Dr. James Dentley now. And I think it's Dr. James Dentley II. He's a great guy. I'll try to find a link to his website and I can put it in here. But yeah, he talks about it all the time when he comes to our speaker training. So Orly mentioned earlier, I do a training for entrepreneurs that would like to become public speakers, that would like to build their business through speaking. I do 3 retreats a year, and he's always one of our speakers at the retreat, and he talks about these 4 personality types. I don't know if he created it or not.
I really appreciated you sharing it today, because I've always known of the personality types, but I've never explained them this way. And it really does help me. I have clients of every possible personality. And so in the years that I've done business, I've learned all of these things, but I've never been able to label them quite so interestingly, and therefore be quick to want to remember exactly who this person is in that context.
Yeah, so, I'll try to find if I can find his website real quick.
Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to make sure you did, Ginny, you did mention your program, and you put a Calendly link in there. I actually made it hot for you so people can click on that. Just a little trick, so they should be able, if it works, it should be able to, they should be able to go to your Calendly right there. What else should we consider? I think that number one, let's give Ginny a hand before we get too far gone here. I really appreciate it, and I know she's. You haven't started coughing or anything, so I'm just
doing better. I have COVID, guys, but I'm doing better now that he said that. Though I have to cough, like it's a thing. He said that I wasn't coughing, so now I have to do it.
Okay, yeah, I was feeling like I needed to cough just by saying it, so. But anyway, that was brilliant. I think some of the things that you highlighted for us that we absolutely need to take away here is the fact that the problems that we encounter as we're dealing with the clients, way back to the beginning of where you started with this, those can be the biggest opportunities for us to solidify that relationship forever. I think about all of the clients and the challenges that I've had, and the ones that are still with me are the ones that we had problems. I don't know that there's anybody hardly that you don't have some kind of problem with and you work through it. I think there's been a time when Randy and I yelled at each other for something. I mean, and we worked through it. So I think that's important, and I think that understanding, he who asks the best questions wins, right? So number one, kind of know what you're dealing with, and I love your your point, one of the things I'm finding with my millennial business owners and clients that I work with is the getting on the phone thing is absolutely something. I mean, so for those of us in the older category, maybe that's not such a hard ask, but way too much texting, way too much emailing, way too much non face-to-face, just deal with it kind of thing. It comes off, even if it doesn't come off cold, it comes off passive aggressive, if nothing else. So it's crazy, right?
Yeah, so I actually do a whole nother talk about embracing the millennial mind, how to stop hating your biggest demographic of customers. Mm-hmm. And in that, I talk about that. So one thing you can do, David, is record them a voice note on your phone. Mm-hmm. They will respond typically with a voice note. So when you're responding to your millennial customers, you can shoot them a quick video, or you can just shoot them a quick voice note. Hearing your voice can change that response. So if they're being, especially if they're being very aggressive, be like, hey man, I just wanted to, hey there, I just wanted to kind of leave you a quick voice note. Doing that can really be good for the millennials. And typically then they'll begin responding in voice notes. And then that way, at least it's like having a phone conversation. Yeah. Cause I don't want to have a phone conversation. I'm a millennial. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. And so that's actually interesting that you should say that. So I have 5 millennial children. And so I'm used to this, but I can call them. They won't answer when I call, even if they've got a problem, right? And this is clients as well. So I leave the voice message and then I text them with, the intention or the whatever that I have. So it's a similar thing in terms of the voice text, or leave a voice message, then text them and say, I left you a VM. When you have time, listen to it, and then either text or call me back. And that way I create that, because it's not a non-issue. It's something that we have to work through.
Yeah. And with the voice message, guys, make sure you don't leave, for those of you that are Gen X and boomers, make sure the voice message isn't too long. And if you do leave them a voice message, you do need to text them, because they won't listen to the voice message. You have to be like, hey, I left you a voice message. If you could listen to it and let me know. Right? That's great. Don't recap what's in the message. Make them listen to the message. It's important for them to hear the sound of your voice. And it's also a great way to do, like when you're doing client retention on the other hand, on the other way, they love these voice memos. And so, it's like, if you're doing a text message, right, you can leave a voice memo. So you can you can do it like a little voice recording. Millennials like that. Gen Z also does that a lot. So as Gen Z rises into the market, I talk a lot about Gen Z too. They'll do the voice things as long as it's not too long, right? It's got to be kind of short, but for thanking somebody, right? Just like to hop on and be like, hey, Don, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming to my talk. It was really great to see you there, and I really appreciated all the input you had. It's fine.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Ginny. It's been great. And I really, really appreciate, getting everybody thinking about this. And we may have in subsequent masterminds, if you're having a struggle with applying what Ginny, that's just now, she's got that in my head. From yesterday. So I'm not going to say
worse by telling them how to say it. It makes it way worse.
It does. It plants this really weird seed in my head that, that I have to get deviate.
You hesitate every time.
I have to say Ginny. Anyway. But anyway, so thank you everybody for being here. We just announced the mastermind for next Friday. So Rob Bliss will be our mastermind lead, and we'll be talking about building your audience on a shoestring, talking about marketing and cost-effective ways for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs to build their business. So, but anyway, Jenny, I thoroughly appreciate, and Orly, thank you for coming back to the group and being part of it. Both of you guys, everybody here has added a lot. For those who haven't gotten a chance to engage, I encourage you to continue to join. Is there anybody else Randy, I see your mic is open. Is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, I just sent Ginny a note, so she may be responding as we speak. But I wanted to know if there's a name to the shark dolphin thing.
Not that I know of. I got it. I stole it from James Dentley. I don't know. He does it in their speaking into people's listening. That's what he uses, and I don't know. Orly, do you know if there's a name for it?
A name for what?
A name for that system, because like you have the colors system, and like there's all these different systems that describe
shark, dolphin.
I'm a trainer in disc profiling. There's so many different methodologies out there. There's psychogeometrics, bank. There's so many out there. You know, everybody knows about Myers-Briggs. So all of these are connected in a certain way. This is just called something else.
Okay.
There's another one that deals with animals.
I'll Google it.
Yeah, there's another one that deals with animals. It's the lion, the peacock, the sheep. Yeah, so there's another one.
Wow.
I think there's another one by Jordan Peterson. He came up with the five personality. I think that's based on that as well.
Of course, there's always going to be somebody to complicate things. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
But
Okay.
I like James Dentley's methodology also. It's really cool.
Well, thanks again, everybody, for participating. As I say, we have our regular meetings coming up next week. Monday, the Mixer. Friday or Wednesday, the hybrid networking, and next Friday we'll have another mastermind. And so I really appreciate everybody's contribution here. And by the way, I liked what we did, Ginny, on you being my podcast guest for that show as a warrior, and then doing this. So I'd like some feedback from those that are regular participants and how that feels to you, so that you kind of get to know the story a little bit before we launch into the mastermind. And I'll be doing that next week on Thursday with Rob Bliss, and then he'll be with us on Friday. So I'm trying that out. We're always trying to learn how to do things more effectively. And so, and for those, if there is anybody here that is a speaker, what is it? Speakers Playhouse? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, or if you guys are thinking about speaking, guys, speaking is the best way to position yourself as an authority in your field and to really get clients in a whole different way. It really changes that client conversation from you chasing them to them chasing you. It totally turns the tables. So if you guys are even thinking about being a speaker, I would love it if you guys would join us at Speakers Playhouse. It's a free weekly networking event. So speakersplayhouse.com. It's every Thursday at 10:30 and 10:30 Pacific. So 12:30 Central, speakersplayhouse.com. Guys, it's crazy networking. Even if you just show up for the networking, it's literally like we have on average about 100 people in the room every single week. So it's really great. And it's free, totally free.
Cool.
Yeah, Ginny invited me in, and I noticed I was on yesterday.
Yeah, I did. I saw you in there.
Yeah, you did a good job. I really like the energy in that room. So you guys have been doing it for a while, and you're dealing with speakers. So I agree. I think even if it's networking, even if you get in and, it's a very high energy, very group, it doesn't compete with any of our meetings. So if you're looking to expose yourself to another community, or get just another view, as I say, another view of the beach ball, if you will, that's a good group to do it.
What's the time on that one?
12:30 Central on Speakers Playhouse. It's every Thursday. It's just speakersplayhouse.com. Totally free. Totally fun.
Yeah, I know Orly's a regular there too. I've saw, and Frank King, who's going to be our do our mastermind on April Fool's Day.
Awesome.
Frank is awesome.
Is on there. I saw him yesterday. We haven't actually, we're still trying to have a quick one-to-one just so I can get to know him, but I've heard great things about him. He's going to be doing.
My cheeks are still hurting from him.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. He has a TEDx talk out there that I may share with the group. And then he's going to be talking about how to have a TEDx, how to do it. The mastermind is going to be, getting your TEDx lined up. So could be kind of fun. So anyway, again, thank you, Jenny and everybody here, I so appreciate everybody, investing their most valuable asset, which is your time, in this. So, with us today. So, thank you again, and we'll see you back next Friday. The room is open, so I'll put it on gallery view. By the way, if you have anything in the chat, there are links in the chat and so on that you can be sure and you can save the chat. Be sure and save it, and we'll see you all next week.
Awesome. Thanks so much, you guys. Really appreciate you hanging in here with me today.
Great job, Jenny. Thank you again.